All right, so let's jump on. What did we discuss in our last class? Abba? What else in EC2? Should we have a quick shoot up round? So do we say that EC2 is a web service from AWS that's provide resizable compute services in the cloud? Okay. And EC2 is regional or global? Regional. So, okay. And how many hours are free per month? So, is it only for one EC2 instance for all? So the payment is per hour bill? Yes. Remember, it is hourly only, but end of every month you need to pay the bill. So the bill will be generated every month, but calculation will be happening every hour. And then if you stop the EC2 instance, will there be any bill? If you terminate, is there any bill? No. When it is running only, you will have generated bill. And we have discussed about the pricing models, right? So what are those pricing models? On demand. Yes. On demand, reserved, spot, dedicated instance, dedicated hosts. So which is like, which model supports fixed price on demand? Do we need to have it? Do we need to do any commitment there? No. No commitments required. Any upfront payment? No. So predictable usage or not predictable usage? Not predictable usage. And then if I want to do the long-term commitment, which model do you provide? Reserve instances. So for how many years that you need to do the commitment? Oh, 1 or 3 years. 1 or 3 years. And how much percentage that you get? 72, 75. If you want exactly, it is 72%. I did round figure. Okay. And so there are different types of reserve instances. Standard RI and convertible RI. So mostly schedule RI is done. So you can consider that majorly you have two things, standard RI and convertible. Schedule, you can put the star mark. Remember, I'll be giving, as you know, right, I'll be giving more and more information. So there might be few information that they might have removed, or they have migrated a new one, or I'll be giving the new information also. So sometimes there will be a very minute changes will be there. So please keep that in mind. When I say that one EBS volume can be attached to multiple EC2 instances at the same time? No, right? In starting days, we have learned. So, but now, so that is normal thing. But nowadays, they have created one type of volume where you can attach it. So there are very few 1 or 2 things where you have something like this. Okay, like this here also in reserve instances, there is no schedule RI. They will be removing it off soon. Okay. So how much percentage that you get? 72, right? And then for this 66%, you will get it for convertible. How much it is? 66%. And then which is the model is related to bidding, auctioning, spot. So in spot, do we lose the EC2 instances? Yes, we lose the EC2 instances. If your spot price is less than the current price, will you get the machine? Obviously, right? If it is greater than the current price, then you will get the machine. That machine will be there for you with forever? No, right? It will be your temporary. So if you have a deep database machine, app machines, standalone machines, will you go for this spot? No. For any kind of workloads, for any kind of processing, like where you have start and end limit. If you know the start and end limit, then go for spot. And then we discuss about dedicated hosts. So if you need a physical machine dedicatedly only for you, go for dedicated host. So tenancy, you have two types. What are those? Shared and dedicated. By default, which one is we have? Shared. If you need to have go for dedicated things, then go for dedicated hosts. And then we have savings plan. Correct? Savings plan. So it's same as reserve instances only. There also you will be reserve it for 1 or 3 years. There also it's same, but you have little bit different strategies will be there. So in this EC2 journey, I'll take separately on this savings plan little bit and spot little bit more information on professional level. Okay. And then we have discussed about instance types. So which is the instance type? Which is the instance type that we should be using it? T2 micro. So T2 micro is the one which comes under the free tier, correct? So, but remember, let's say you have joined some company and your manager asks, please go and launch T2 X large. Will you say to your manager that, hey, my Riyaz sir told only to launch T2 micro. I don't launch T2 X large. Will you say that? So T2 micro is only for the free tier account. So we don't want to generate any bill no, when we are learning. That's why it is a free tier instance type. So based on your requirement, you need to choose the instance type. If your developer asked, hey, I need 32 GB RAM, go and pick it up based on the instance type. T2 Nano is not free. No. And then we discussed about, okay, okay, how do you achieve scalability? By changing the instance type, So for changing the instance type, can you do it in runtime? So what do you need to do? You need to stop the EC2 instance and do it. So you need to have a downtime for it. Yes. And do we have any data loss for changing the instance type? No, because where is your data stored? EBS volumes. And then we learned about burstable performance instances, correct? Is it free? It's not free. So it's just a matter of enable and disable concept. So that one is also called a T2, T3 unlimited. What we call T2, T3 unlimited, where in write down in burstable, T2, T2/T3 unlimited. That is also another name for burstable. T2/T3 unlimited. So whenever someone asks any question related to burstable performance instance, is all about CPU credits. What? Whenever you see anything related to CPU credits, it is burstable. Super. This is what we have discussed. Okay. Nice. So now let's jump on to the topic. Can you please confirm? Can you see my screen and can you hear me well? Nice. Yes, there is a question from Purva. What is the major advantage of dedicated host? Yes, first is privacy, security. So let's say I am from banking company. I don't want to take any risk of sharing my hardware to someone else. So then I go for it. It is only purely for you, correct? And let's say also this might be good for, do you remember there are few softwares which are license based. One hardware is equal to one license. Yes or no? Yes or no? If you want to install something, there will be giving one license, you will install on your laptop. With one license, can you install multiple things? So if you have virtualization technology, you have one physical host machine. On top of you have multiple virtual machines. So this license will work for all virtual machines. So there are few things like, license-based softwares, you cannot do it on virtualization. You cannot install it because the hardware is shared. For that purpose, you will be going for dedicated hosts. It is separately for you. Okay. There are few examples that I'm giving you, but right? If you want to have a separate machine for you, then go for that. Okay. Now let's go a little bit deep dive on volumes. What's that? Volumes. Chitti, we have already learned a little bit on volumes in starting days, correct? EBS volumes. So volumes are nothing but hard disk only. Yes. These volumes can be attached and detached anytime. What is the default volume called? Root volume. What is the rest of the volume called? Additional volume. How many root volumes you can have per machine? Only one. So if you start and stop the EC2 instance, data will be lost? No, it will not be lost because it is in a centralized storage. No, centralized storage. What is the maximum size of the volume? 16 terabyte. Very good. What is the default size for Windows? Default size. That is for Linux. For Windows, 30 GB. How much? 30 GB. Very good. And for Linux, 8 to 10 GB. Remember? Okay. So what is the device name for the root device name? Root volume device name. C drive is your root volume. What is the device name? Root volume device name. /dev/sda1. Remember? Tell me. Tell me 3 times. /dev/sda1. You should not forget this. This is perfect in certification question. So what is the device name for the root volume? It is /dev/sda1. I told you, no. Whenever you're launching the EC2 instance, your operating system will be in which volume? Root volume. So you have an EC2 instance, you are attaching the root volume, no? So how does this EC2 instance will know that from where it has to boot? That will be with the device name. If you put /dev/sda1, that will be a boot volume or root volume. Always root volume should be attached with /dev/sda1. For Linux also same, for Windows is also same. Okay. And is it possible to detach the root volume while EC2 is running? No. What you need to do? Stop. Is it possible to detach additional volume? Yes. So it's not recommended. So we learned about EBS volumes, correct? So here volumes are classified into mainly 2 types. I'm going little bit upper. We have already learned EBS volume, but I'm going little bit upper. So EBS volumes are classified into 2 types. EBS volumes and instance store volumes. EBS volumes and instance store volumes. So what is this EBS volume? EBS volume we know very well. Can I say it is a persistent storage, permanent storage? Yes or no? Yes. Persistent storage or permanent storage. What is the meaning of persistent or permanent? That meaning if you stop and start the EC2 instance, data will be lost? No. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, data is not lost. Nice. What is the EBS maximum volume? EBS volume, maximum size? 16 TB. Oh, nice. Okay. And it's billable? Yes, it is billable. EBS, how much size that you are getting it, you need to pay for it, right? So EBS volume is billable? Yes, EBS is billable. So coming to okay, before I go to the instance store volumes, I'll talk about in EBS volumes all itself, we have different types of volumes. What's that? We have different types of volumes. I'll write it at different types of volumes. So these are all for certification questions. There are different types of EBS volume. So, Chiti, whenever you're launching the EC2 instance, what is the default volume that you get? Root volume. Is if required, can you attach additional volume also? Yes. So I'm not talking about root volume. I'm not talking about additional volumes here. I'm talking about volume. That can be root, that can be additional. So these volumes itself, we have different types. The volume itself, we have different types. Which type of volume that you attach to the EC2 instance, we'll see. So for all your general purpose, if you want to set up a web server, if you want to set up application server, if you want to set up any for general thing, there will be one default volume will be there. That is called general purpose. General purpose. What is it called? General purpose. And here in this, we have two things. We have GP2 and GP3. We have two types here. What are the general purpose volume? GP2 and GP3. This is SSD storage. SSD. We have two things, no? SSD and HDD. HDD meaning hard disk drive. SSD meaning solid state disk or drive. So you tell me which one is faster? SSD only, no? So that meaning this general purpose volumes are faster? Obviously it is faster. Good. So this will be used for all your general purpose. Okay, this all is for general purpose. So similarly like this, you have provisioned IOPS. There is also one more volume type, which is called provisioned IOPS. In there, we have IO1 and IO2. IO1 and IO2. So this also is related to SSD. So guys, this one, if you want to have a high performance, if you want to go for high performance, then go for, I'll tell. High performance, then you go for provisioned IOPS. What is the full form of IOPS? Anyone? Input output per second. What's that? Input output per second. I'll write down. First, let me list down all these things. And then we have throughput. We call it as ST1. This is HDD. This is for frequently accessed data with cheaper price. Go for this. And there is something called cold, which is SC1. HDD only. Not frequently access data with cheaper price. And finally, you have standard, not standard, magnetic. In shortcut, you can it as standard volumes. This also HDD. This is previous generation. Okay, so let me talk about this now. So guys, here, listen please. So there are different types of EBS volumes, correct? What are those? General purpose, say that, general purpose, provisioned IOPS, throughput, cold, and magnetic. So we have these different types. So instead of remembering all these things, you can say GP2, GP3, which will come under general purpose, IO1, IO2 in provisioned IOPS, ST1, SC1 standard. So if I ask you a question, what are the different types of EBS volume you have? What is the answer that you should say? GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, ST1, SC1 standard. Say that again. GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, ST1, SC1 standard. Very good. So if someone asks you in interview and certification questions also, these are the different types of volumes. Now, which volume to use when? Right? Okay, now I want to launch one EC2 instance. I don't have specific requirement. Which one do you choose? General purpose. Either you go for GP2, or you can go with the GP3. So the difference between both of them is I'll talk. So GP3 is little bit more higher in performance. And if you need to go for, let's say you are setting up a database, or you are setting up a graphic machine, or if you're setting up very powerful one where you need high performance, which one do you choose? IO1 or IO2. Out of these two things, you can choose anything, IO1 or IO2. So that is for high performance. Both are like little bit. IO1 compared to IO1, IO2 is little bit more higher. So, and then you want to have one EC2 instance with one volume. You want to use frequently, every day you are using it, but you don't want to spend more money. You want for cheaper price. You don't worry about the performance. Then which one do you choose? ST1. And you are not accessing it frequently, but you want it for cheaper price. SC1. And magnetic standard one, which is like previous generation, AWS will soonly remove it off. Slowly, AWS will take off the last one, but still people are using magnetic. Magnetic meaning it's very bad for performance. It's not good. It's not recommended to use. Is it clear? Okay. Now, out of all these things, which one is the default volume type? GP2. Which one is that? GP2. Certification question. GP2 is the default. Is the default EBS volume type. What is the full form of IOPS? Input, output per second. So how much input output should get you from your volume? That is IOPS. Okay. So guys, IOPS meaning, let's assume you have a hard disk. Is nothing but how many inputs you are giving and how many outputs you are getting from the hard disk, correct? So for GP2, you no need to specify how many inputs, how many outputs. But here in provisioned IOPS, you can mention how it is IOPS configurable. What is that? It is IOPS configurable. That meaning how many inputs, outputs you need. You can specifically mention 2,000, 3,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 till 80,000. You can mention how many IOPS that you need. So which volume type is IOPS configurable? That provisioned IOPS. What is that? Provisioned IOPS. And also GP3. IO1, IO2, and GP3. What are those? IO1, IO2, and GP3 are IOPS configurable. What are those? So that is a certification question. Which one? IO1, IO2, and GP3 are IOPS configurable. That means can you input IOPS values? You can input IOPS values, how many you need. Guys, this is a certification questions. You understood what is IOPS? So there are few volumes that you need specifically mention how much IOPS that you need. For GP2, will you mention IOPS? No. For ST1, do you mention IOPS? No. For ST1, do you mention IOPS? No. For IO1 and IO2? For GP3? Understood? So there is a question called why not GP2? Yes, GP3 will be available for IOPS configurable. And by the way, the more the IOPS that you give, the more IOPS you give, the more you get the bill. Correct? Yes or no? The more you drive your car fast, that much petrol that consumes. Correct? The same way here also, if you need to have a high performance, super high performance, so will you give 40,000 IOPS, 80,000 IOPS? You can give. You will get super high performance. But compared to that, you will get the bill also. Yes or no? Obviously, if you want to go with, if you want to travel with normal train, passenger, 100 rupees ticket. Express, 150 rupees ticket. Nowadays, that Modi train is, Vande Bharat. So what that it is into 4. So you have to pay more money and you will get super high performance. Correct? No, huh? In Vande Bharat, I haven't traveled, but so that's the reason here. Okay. So if you pay more money, you will get more performance. Understood? Nice. So there is some question, sir, how about GP2? GP2 is IOPS configurable? No. But AWS is giving automatically few IOPS in the backend. GP2 is not IOPS configurable, but it is giving automatically. AWS will give you 1:3 ratio. What is that ratio? If you give 1 GB, if you are using 1 GB of hard disk, volume, how many IOPS you get? 3 IOPS. If you are using 100 GB, how many you get? 300 IOPS. Automatically you get. Is it IOPS configurable? No, it is provided by AWS. What is the ratio that GP2 will get? Oh, certification question. IO1, Bhavana. GP2 has default IOPS. What's ratio? 1:3. That meaning 1 GB is to 3 IOPS. Is it IOPS configurable, ma? It is not IOPS configurable. GP2 is IOPS configurable. Yes or no? No. Very good. And whenever you are launching the EC2 instance, what is the default volume that you get? Root volume. So root volume also should be one of the volume type, no? Root volume should be also one of the volume. Which is the default volume that root volume has? Which volume type is the default one? GP2. Which one? Which one? GP2. Very good. So if you don't configure anything, what is the default? Which one it will take? GP2 only. But root volume supports certification question. Root volume supports GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard. Okay. ST1, SC1 root volume will not support. Root volume doesn't support ST1 and SC1. Certification question. Because is it good for the performance? ST1 and SC1 is good in the performance? No. For that reason, root volume doesn't support ST1 and SC1, but rest of the volume supports ST1 and rest of the volume supports root volume. So now question for you. Root volume supports what volume types? GP2, GP3, I1, I2, and standard. Instead of that, can I say except ST1 and SC1? Yes. Very good. Here I'll write except ST1 and S1. So you will get ulta question also in your certification. How about additional volume? Additional volume supports all. Additional volumes supports all types. You're getting it? Is this clear till here? Slowly. I'm going very slow, dead slow. Everyone clear till here? CC? No. Non-IT, Sisima? Okay. Question for you. One volume can be attached to multiple EC2 instances at the same time? What is your answer? No. No. What is that? No. But we have a volume type called IO1, IO2. Which one? That bloody type can be attached to multiple EC2 instances at the same time. I told you, this is the latest one. Previously, it was not there, but AWS started attaching. What are those? IO1 and IO2 can be multi-attached. Possible? Yes. So IO1 and IO2 can be attached to multiple EC2 instances at the same time, right? In same available. One A volume can be attached to one EC2 instance. No, because it is different availability zone. So these volumes IO1, IO2 can be attached to in the same availability zone or different availability zones. Same only. Very good. Certification question. How many EC2 instances that you can attach? How many? 16 EC2 instances. How many? 16 EC2 instances at a time can be attached. How many EC2 instances? Guys, one volume can be attached to multiple EC2 instances. How many maximum you can attach? So if you have one volume, how many EC2 instances that you can attach? One volume? 16 EC2 instances you can attach. Okay. This is actually, this is no need to learn, but this is the advanced thing. I'm just giving you information. Is it clear, ma? Till here on the EBS section, everything? In and out on EBS, different types and what does it contains. Good. So now let's go with the instance store volume. Volumes are classified into how many types? Two types. What are those? EBS volume and instance store volume. What is that other one? Instance store volume. Write down instance store volumes. What is that? Instance store volumes. Chitty, EBS volumes are persistent storage. EBS volumes are persistent storage, permanent storage, whereas instance store volumes are temporary. What is that? Temporary storage. That meaning not persistent storage. That meaning temporary storage. Okay, not persistent or temporary storage. That meaning what? Now tell me, if you stop and start the EC2 instance which has instant store volume, data is lost? Yes, data is lost. So I'll write it here. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, data is lost or deleted because it is a temporary volume, correct? So do you keep very important data in this instance store volumes? No. How we have temp storage, temporary storage. Temporary purpose, you can use it. Can you store all your data? You can store it, no issue. You can store it. But remember, if you stop and start the EC2, all your data is gone. Okay? Until unless if you don't stop the EC2 instance, you can use that. Why? You know, instance store volumes are free. What is that? Free, right? Instance store volumes are free. We like that word, no? Free. But there will be always a star mark when you see free. Instance store volumes are free. And there is also another name for this, which is called ephemeral storage. Ephemeral storage. What is another name for instance store volumes? Everyone? Ephemeral storage. What is that? Ephemeral storage. Guys, I want you guys, all you to pronounce what I'm saying. Okay. So when I'm teaching something, please try to repeat what I'm saying so that it will register in your brains. Yes, ephemeral storage. Write down in the chat, ephemeral storage. Okay, now see here. That is also a certification question, ephemeral storage. Now tell me, if you terminate the EC2 instance, guys, this is a certification question I'm asking, an interview question also. Tell me the answer, okay? If you terminate the EC2 instance, by default, root volume will be deleted, yes or no? Yes or no? Logically think and tell me. Logically, some people are say yes and some people no. Again, mixed feelings. I'll give a scenario. You only tell me. Huh? I'll give the scenario. See, now I went and launched these many EC2 instances. Okay, ma? Every EC2 instance has its own volume, root volume. Huh? Every EC2 instance will have a root volume. What is the question I'm asking? If you terminate the EC2 instances, your root volumes will also be deleted by default. Answer is yes. Answer is yes. Let's say, for example, if you say no, if you terminate all these EC2 instances, what will happen to all these root volumes in the backend? Will you keep it empty, like ideal like that? No, no. No, no. It's a waste of money, no. If you terminate the EC2 instance, all your root volume by default also deleted. Correct? Because you know why? There is one option which is ticked while creating the machine. That is called delete on termination. What is that option called? Delete on termination. So in the root, for the root volume, this delete on termination is checked. So if you terminate the EC2 instance, your volume will also get deleted automatically. But if required, can I uncheck that? If you uncheck it, if you terminate the EC2 instance, the root volumes will be deleted? No. So can you retain your root volume? Yes, this is a certification question. So the interview also they'll ask, hey, is it possible to retain the root volume if you terminate it? Answer is yes. If you ask how, there is an option called delete on termination. That should be checka, unchecka, uncheck. Understood? Do you understand the logic, everyone? Super. Don't worry, I'll write everything for you. Huh? So if you terminate, are you in right class? Okay, there is a question here. Sir, then instance store volumes are not chargeable for storing any data. Instance volume will be charged? Instance store volumes will be charged? No, because it's free. It's free. So if you terminate the EC2 instance, by default, root volume will be deleted because what option is that? Delete on termination is checked or enabled. What is that? It's free. Then what purpose to get for free? Did we learn already this? What is the purpose of needing of instance store volumes? What is the purpose? To store your data temporarily. Simple, no? Yes or no? Here he's asking, then what purpose to give it for free? AWS is giving for free, but you want to know the reason? Okay, so hold on. For that reason, we need to go a little bit more deeper. Wait for a few minutes. We want the root volume to be retained. So uncheck delete on termination while launching the EC2 instance. And another question, guys, see here. If you terminate the EC2 instance, your additional volumes will be deleted. Additional volume. Additional volume answer is no, because Chitti, root volume, generally operating system will be there. Would you save any data in root volume? Will you keep any data in root volume? Okay, you have your laptops. In your laptops, will you keep any data in your C drive? Why? If something goes wrong, it's gone, no. So what you keep all your data in your data drive called D drive. So here, when you terminate the EC2 instance, root volume will be deleted automatically, but additional volume will be deleted? No. So that will get retained. For that, delete on termination will be checked or unchecked? Unchecked. But if you want to be deleted automatically, check it. Super. If you terminate the EC2 instance, by default, additional volumes will not be deleted because delete on termination is unchecked or disabled. Okay, ma. So these are all like these checkboxes are customized, no? That meaning if you want, keep it. If you don't want, delete it. So it is a checkbox. If you want, keep it. If you don't want, delete it. Simple. Is it clear, these 3 points, everyone? There is a question. Let me read that question from you. You said the instance store volume for free, but there is no use. Did I say there is no use? Okay, because data is stored temporarily. So that's why what to do. Okay. Parkavin, are you fresher or experienced person? Just wanted to know. That's a reason. Okay. So experienced people might know this a little bit. Let's say you have an EC2 instance. You have some application where you want to store all your data temporarily. Whereas your C drive is only 30 GB. And you don't want to spend money. And you want to store the data. Let's say cache, your cache. Or you want to process something and you want to store it temporarily. Your application is processing something and you want to store it temporarily. And the data is not that critical unless you stop it and start it. So in that case, will you go for EBS volume or instance store volume? Why? It's free. It's free. Your data is critical? Not that critical. And will you stop the EC2 instance? You don't stop it. Then why to go for EBS volume and pay money for that? Go for instance store volumes and keep all your data there. And be ready. If someone stops, your data will be gone. You have to be ready for that. That kind of data only you have to put it there. Correct? Will you put important data there in an instance store volume? Don't put it. For caching purpose, for processing purpose, for calculation purpose, for storing some temporary data, temporary volumes, temporary something, you use that. Right? Once your application is done, instance store volume is nothing. If something else happen, also no issues. Okay, that is the purpose of it. Now there is a question. If you stop and start the EC2 instance which has EBS volumes, data is lost? No, it is not lost. Okay, another one. What is the maximum size that you get for EBS volume? 16 terabyte. Here there will be a question here. Sir, what is the size of instance store volume? It's free, no? It's free. How much I can go and get? Remember, there is for you, there will not be any option to give the size. Instance store volumes will come automatically for your machine. How? Which is the instance type that you select in our course? Instance type. Which is the instance type that we use? T2 micro. What is that? T2 instance type. Remember, register it. What is the instance type that we should be using it? T2 micro. How much GB that you have for that? 1 GB or 2 GB max. You have bigger machines also. If you keep on going for the bigger machines, T2 X large or T3 X large, R3, something big machine. For those big machines, AWS will give this instance store volumes. How much ever he feel he want to give, he will give. When you're selecting the instance type, a bigger instance type, in hundreds, you will get the size. Is it possible for us to select the size? Who will give you automatically? AWS, based on the bigger instance type that you have selected. Understood? And maximum, can we say that instance store maximum size is 16 terabyte? No, I'm not saying that. For EBS volume, it is 16 terabyte. For instance volume, how much ever he has, he will give. Because that is free and temporary. So can I say that based on the instance type that you have selected, this what instance store volumes will be attached automatically. Okay. 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 Now, okay, let me go a little bit deeper here. Guys, one question. If I reboot the EBS volume instance, data is lost? EBS volumes. EBS volume data is not lost. Here, if I reboot, if I reboot the data is lost in instance store volumes. For instance store volumes, if I reboot the machine, data is lost? Answer is no. Confusion, no? Correct, no? So generally, if you stop and start the EC2 instance, which has instance store volumes, data is lost? Yes, it is lost. But if you reboot, data is not lost. Data is not lost. Guys, definitely there will be a big question here, correct? Do you want to know a little bit more deeper? Why? So generally, nowhere you will get this information. Okay. Should we go a little bit deeper and see what is happening in the backend of AWS? Let's see. Okay, let me give an example. Okay. I want you to concentrate. Okay. Today, all the questions will get answered here. Now I am talking about backend, which is handled by AWS. Do we need to really worry about it? But I'm telling you that. Okay. See. So what else we have in the backend? EBS, host machines. We have the host machines in the backend. Yes or no? Yes. Host machines, no? Okay. What does a host machine contain? Hardware, hypervisor, etc. All kind of stuff you have. Listen carefully. Can I call this as host machine? Can I call this as a host machine? Yes. So this is hardware. On top of it, you have hypervisor. That is very common. Okay, now, Chitty, can I go and launch my EC2 instance here? Yes or no? I went and launched the EC2 instance here. I went and launched the EC2 instance here. So this is the EC2 instance, Chitty. And that EC2 instance has the root volume? Yes or no? From where do you get the root volumes? EBS, correct? EBS. So this is central storage. EBS is a central storage. Yes. So from this, I get a volume, correct, ma? From this, I'll get the volume. Centrally stored. From here, I'll be attaching the volume. This is the volume. Okay, no? Correct? Okay, this is good. So now let's see the difference between of having EBS volume attached and instance store volume attached. This is EBS volume attached. If you attach EBS volume, what will happen? And if you attach instance store volume, what will happen? Let's see. So there is one formula that you need to keep in mind. Chitty, if you stop and start the EC2 instance, what is that? If you stop and start the EC2 instance, what will happen in the backend? You know, it will jump. What will happen? Just for example, say jump. Jump meaning the EC2 instance will jump from this one host, this host to another host. That is how AWS is designed in the backend. That is the strategy they use. If I stop and start the EC2 instance, what is happening? Jumping in the backend. Okay, now tell me, what volume it has? EBS volume or instance store volume? What volume it has? EBS volume attached, correct? Now, if you stop and start the EC2 instance, it has jumped from this host machine to this host machine. That meaning EBS volume is centrally attached, no? Simple, what happened? Data is lost? No, because here the pointer will be changing from here to here, simple. Yes or no? Data will be lost in this case because your data is stored centrally in EBS volume. So now, but remember a formula, whenever you stop and start the EC2 instance, what will happen? Jump or no jumper? Jump. So if you have EBS volume attached to the EC2 instance, if jump also happened, data is lost. That is what you have told me here, correct? If you stop and start the EC2 instance, which has EBS volume, data is lost. Data is not lost. Okay, na? Okay, good. So if I reboot the EC2 instance, jump or no jumper? No jump. What is that? No jump. Okay, now I have this EC2 instance. Which has EBS volume. I had just rebooted. Will it jump from one host to another host? Data is lost here. Data is not lost because it is still staying over there. It has EBS volume, correct? So that's what we learned. If you stop and start the EC2 instance, which has EBS volume, data is lost? No. If you reboot the EC2 instance, which has EBS volume, data is lost? No. But if you terminate, obviously, fasak, data is lost. We cannot guarantee that. Data is lost. Okay. Now, Chitty, do you all understood on the EBS volume how it is behaving in the backend? Because EBS volume is centrally stored on the centrally stored. So if you stop and start the EC2 instance, it will jump from one host to another host. If we jumping from one host to another host, as the data is stored centrally, is there any impact on the data? No, that's why data is not lost. Nice. What will happen with the instance store volume? Let's see. Chitty, this is a host machine only, no? That means machine only, no? Will it has its own hard disk? Yes or no? Yes, it has its own hard disk. And this machine also has its own hard disk. Every machine will have their own hard disk, correct, Chitty? Yes. Now I went and launched the EC2 instance here. This time, which volume I will be using it? Instance store volume. Whenever I'm using instance store volume, what will happen? A local disk will be attached to the EC2 instance. What is that? Local disk. What is attached? Local disk. A local disk. How much do we know? AWS will provide. That's what I said. Instance store volume, can we mention the size? No. How much ever that host machine has as a physical hard disk, that physical hard disk will be attached to the EC2 instance. How much AWS wish? Now I stop and start the machine. Let's see what happened. Stop and what is happened? Will stop and start. Jump or no jump? Stop and start. Jump or no jump? Jump. So when it jump, so that means it will jump from this host machine to this host machine. Okay, now tell me, Site, if it jump from one host to another machine, this local disk will jump from here to here. All your data stored where? Locally, no? So that meaning, if you stop and start the EC2 instance, data is lost or not? Lost. Did we learn that? This is data is lost. For instance, overall, if you stop and start, what will happen? Data is lost. The reason is the local hard disk. And you will get the fresh hard disk now from here. All your data is lost, freshly you will get the hard disk again. Okay, now question. Chite, if I reboot, jumper, no jumper? Okay, now tell me, if it is no jump, the machine is sitting in the same host machine. So still it is connecting the local hard disk. If I reboot, data is lost. Now you see that now? Do you understood? Now the data is not lost. That is the thing that I told you here. Do you see this now? Do you relate it now here? If you reboot, data is not lost. What is the reason? The reason, actual reason is this. This is the logics which is happening in the backend. We no need to know. No one will tell also. Anyway, some experienced people, those are doing little bit more investigations, they know this. Now you also know it. Very good. Happy? Okay, is it clear till here, everyone? Yes. EBS, it is shared. EBS is centrally located. That way data is not lost. Simple. Instance store volume, meaning local hard disk. Okay. So I just wanted to, okay, now, whenever you launch the EC2 instance, guys, concentrate. Whenever you launch a EC2 instance, EC2 instance will get launched. Launched by, we will trigger it. We will go and launch it. But who will help us to get it launched? AWS only, right? Okay. AWS only will help us to launch. AWS has to confirm now whether it is properly launched or not. If it is properly launched, we get able to log in. If it is not launched properly, we'll be able to log in. So here we have something called status checks. What is that? Status. There are two types of status checks. Two types of status checks. One is instance status check, which will, and second one is system status check. Certification question. What are those two status checks we have? Instance status check and system status check. Chiti, instance status check will check all your hardware. Your virtual machine got properly launched or not. It will check. System status check will check the software. IP got assigned or not properly. Network got connected properly or not. So AWS will do the, how many checks AWS will do for your EC2 instance? 2 checks. What are those 2 checks? Instance status check and system. Instance status check meaning hardware check? Yes or no? It's a hardware check. And system status check meaning software check. Simple. Okay, now tell me, if two status checks, 2/2 checks are passed, then only we will be able to log in. Yes or no? Yes or no? If 2/2 checks are passed, then only we are able to log in. Yes, ma? If 1/2 are passed, will you able to log in? If 1/2 checks are passed, will you able to log in? No. So if 0/2 checks are passed, yes or no? No. 0/2 checks are passed. Whether you're able to log in? No, you cannot log in. Oops. Both checks should be passed. Cannot log into EC2 instance. And now tell me, do we need to do anything here? Do we need to do anything here? Guys, so if 1/2 checks are passed or 0/2 checks are passed, do we do anything here? It is our responsibility to do the checks. No, whose responsibility is that? Yes. Status checks are done by AWS. So if you get 1/2 checks or 0/2 checks, what do you do in that case? What do you do? Create one more. Simple, because that machine is not used. But you have one EC2 instance which is used for longer time. Let's say your application server. And you stop and start the EC2 instance. And Pusuk, you got 1/2 checks passed. Will you terminate that machine? Then apply the logic. All your EC2 instances are sitting on the host machines in the backend. Yes or no? Agree? Okay. If the EC2 instance has not launched properly, that meaning the backend host machine, there might be some problem. Yes or no? If you don't want your EC2 instance to sit on that host machine where it is getting 1/2, what you do? Simple. What you do? Stop and start the machine. It will jump from one host to another host and you will get your 2/2 checks are passed. That is also nowhere it is written. That is based on experience, I'm telling it. Got it? So what is the solution for this, guys? Stop and start. If you get 1/2 or 0/2 status checks are passed, what do you do? Just stop and start the EC2 instance. In another one, this is the recommended one. Or you just terminate if it is fresh machine, just stop and start will work. But another solution is terminate it and launch fresh. But I would vote for which one? Yes, this one. Is it clear till here, everyone? One real example where we use volumes without application. When the checkbox is checked. See, you have Chitty. See here, you have one EC2 instance, you have one root volume. Okay. If you terminate the EC2 instance, your root volume is deleted by default? Yes. But if you don't want to get deleted, what do you want to do? Uncheck it, correct? In what situation you want to uncheck? That is a question here. Apurva is asking, someone is asking. Now, example. You logged into EC2 instance, you have installed so many softwares. You have configured so many applications inside it. All your software configuration will be inside this volume only. Can you detach this root volume and attach it to another EC2 instance? Can you do that? Yes. You can. I told you, no, root volume can be attached and detached to Any EC2 instance provided in the same availability zone. Yes or no? So this root volume can be retained for any kind of requirement. So just in case if you have some important data or you have configured some very important applications. So if you don't want to delete the root volume, but you want to terminate the EC2 instance, terminate the EC2 instance. And if you want to retain the root volume, what is it? What you need to check or uncheck? Uncheck it. If you don't have anything in root volume, will you keep the root volume? Will you retain it? Don't retain it. Delete it. Simple. Okay. Nice. So that is the purpose of the root volume. So if you need high performance, now we have two types of volume, EBS volume, instance store volume. I'm giving a certification question. Instance store volume, EBS. EBS volume is centralized storage. It is a network attached disk only, no? Somewhere it is giving, you are attaching that as a network disk. Instance store volume is immediately from locally you are attaching it immediately to the machine. Now tell me which will give super high performance? Instance store volume only, no? That is a certification question. So if you need to have a super high performance, which volume that you should use? Instance store volume. But will you use? I'm just giving you information. Okay. I'm saying that if you have a chance, if you don't have the data which is critical, go for it. So write down EBS volumes are network drives with good but limited performance. I'm not saying limited performance meaning it will give good performance only. Okay. If you need a high performance hardware disk, use instance store. But I'm saying, but risk of data loss if hardware fails. Backups, replication is your responsibility. If you use instance store volume, some people also call ISV. What is the meaning of ISV? Instance store volume. If you are using instance store volume, is there any possible AWS will give the backup for you? Who will be responsible for the backup? Yes, you have to take the backup. If you want to replicate, it's your responsibility. But if you want to give a good performance, go for it. ISV is equal to instance store volumes. Okay, ma? Clear? Any questions? Super. Take the screenshot of first one. Of course, there is a question. Can we transfer data from cloud to on-premises? Can we transfer? There are multiple ways, no? Oh, tell me one service. Snow Family is there. Storage Gateway is there. There's so many services are there, no? Yes. S3 is there. Using CLI, can you upload, download? Okay, go with the second one. Take the screenshot. Super. Can you give the final CC for today? It can do both Pavanveer, vice versa. CC with smile, please. Excellent. That is all, guys, for today. And I'll see you tomorrow with the next continuation of this topic. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Have a nice day and good night.